For too long, our government, our courts haven't looked like America. And I believe it's time that we have a court that reflects the full talents and greatness of our nation, with a nominee of extraordinary qualifications.
For the first time in our country's history, a Black woman has been nominated to the Supreme Court of the United States. At the intersection of Black History Month and Women's History Month, Ketanji Brown Jackson is set to fill the seat of Justice Stephen Breyer upon confirmation by the Senate. Here to delve further into her experience is former appellate and trial lawyer, investigator, researcher, and a guest legal analyst on Court TV, Dr. Tracy A. Pearson.
Judge Brown Jackson is an extraordinary Black woman who has this incredible history of working in a number of different areas. She has a lot of court clerking experience, which is really critical for a good Supreme Court justice. She was on the U.S. Sentencing Commission. She is related to Paul Ryan, former Speaker Paul Ryan. She's Harvard educated. She is, by all accounts, incredibly brilliant. And she brings an interesting voice to the court, which I think is really important.
In the Supreme Court's 233-year history, there have been a total of 115 judges, with only 2 having been Black men and 5 being women. Biden vowed to nominate a Black woman to the highest court during his presidential campaign, and he is fulfilling that promise. On February 2nd, Biden had selected 4 candidates to proceed forward with FBI background checks. Out of the 4, Justice Brown Jackson was nominated for the vacant seat on the bench. Here is how Pearson says Justice Brown Jackson stood out from the rest of the candidates.
She's eminently qualified, first of all. And that's the first reason that listeners should take away. She has been through confirmation hearings before. And in both confirmation hearings for the U.S. District Court, for the Sentencing Commission, by voice vote, it was unanimous. And there isn't anything in her background that's going to make it a problem for her to get through. And one of the things that she brings to the table is her clerking experience. A clerk writes the decisions. They write those drafts. And it's the judge who reviews them and looks them over. The judge says, this is how I want it to come out. And this is, these are the points I want you to make. But ultimately, it's the clerk that's doing it and doing all of that work.
Hofstra Law professor James Sample echoes those qualifications of Justice Brown Jackson, but adds that aside from her being the first Black woman on the court, there is another element to her career that makes her a first.
She served as a public defender, which is an extraordinarily important role, but one that has been vastly underrepresented in the judiciary, given that over the years, the standard time-honored yellow brick road to the judicial branch has been to serve as a prosecutor, even though public defenders are responsible for the extraordinarily important role of ensuring constitutional rights for those accused. And so she brings an entirely different perspective to the bench in that regard as well.
Pearson says, as a Black woman, Justice Brown Jackson offers a unique perspective that has not been seen in the Supreme Court.
But what Justice Brown Jackson brings is a Black woman's perspective, who has worked her way up, who has been to Harvard, who has been in private practice, who has been a federal public defender, who has had family who have been in both sides, frankly, of the criminal justice system. She is very balanced in her perspective and where she comes from. As a Black woman, she brings a set of experiences, a way of seeing the world that we have not had on this court and we desperately need.
The conservatives will still hold the majority on the bench, even if Justice Brown Jackson is appointed. However, Pearson says her place on the Supreme Court will be a stepping stone to judicial diversity in America.
I believe that President Biden believes in a government of the people and for the people and by the people. And so it's time that the court look like our country. When you get that, you get thought diversity, you get different perspectives, and you get better results. We know that when you have people who come from different backgrounds, different viewpoints, different experiences, and you put them together, you end up with better results. And so by making the Supreme Court look like the United States, that we are not all a homogenous group of white cisgender males, you're going to end up with better decisions because there's different voices in the room. And it's time to let a Black woman's voice in the room.
Reporting for WRHU, I'm Annemarie Lepard.